So in today's tutorial, we're going to be modeling this Far Cry Primal spear. This is what the final spear looks like. Great, so let's get started. So I'm just going to hide this version. That way we can start fresh. So once you have your reference image set up, let's jump into the front view. Let's go to the Create tab, Geometry, and let's create a box. Any size box is fine. And I'm just going to change the length, width, and height segments to 4. So the segments to 1 and the size to 4. And let's just rotate that into place, making sure that we have angle snaps turned on. Just going to rotate that across 90 degrees. That way I can zero everything out and transform box down at the bottom here, and it'll be in the center. So the first thing we're going to do is just get the length of this spear. So I'm going to bring this object all the way back. Let's bring it all the way back to the base here. And let's go to our Modify tab and let's add 2 edit polys. Using our vertex selection here, let's grab these vertices on the right. Let's move them all the way over. I'm going to press F3 to go into wireframe mode, and I'm going to stop to about here. Okay. So if this is happening where half the reference images looks like it's in a shadow or it's cutting off, what I've done is created a custom viewport setting. So on the top right left here on the third viewport menu, we can open up this section here that says quality. So yours might be on standard, I'm on high quality, and that's why it's doing that. So I want to go to active viewport settings, and I can create a custom one. So I did this by going to standard. So standard will create a blurry background image, despite the fact that in Alt B, our viewport configurations, display performance, we have our texture settings set to 3000 pixels. So what we can do is just go into our active viewport settings with standard turned on. And then down at the bottom here where it says material rendering level, we can open that up and set that to advanced material. This should allow us to have a high quality material in the standard viewport. And that custom viewport will be under user defined, and I've just renamed mine ref image. Great, so let's add some more segments here just to get the shape fitting a bit nicer. So I'm going to press 2 on my keyboard to go into my edge selection and just highlight all these edges going across. So remember, I'm dragging a little box over the top of everything because I want to get the ones behind as well, the edges here. Okay, so let's connect these together by pressing Ctrl-Shift-E, and that's the hotkey for connect, which is over here on the right in the Edit Edges rollout menu. And just resize that to fit. And I'm going to go to the right here and add another connection. So that's Ctrl-Shift-E. Just resize that to fit. And I like to do things evenly, so I'm just going to jump to the other side, do the same thing. Ctrl-Shift-E. And I'm just going to scale that down. So whilst I'm here, may as well scale this part down as well. So I'm going to go into my vertex selection mode by pressing 1 on the keyboard. Grab all of these guys, and I'm dragging a little box because I want to grab the vertices behind as well. And let's just scale that down to fit. And about there would be good. And we can always make that fit a little bit later as well. Great, so I might connect in between each section again so I can get a nice tighter fit. So I'm going to go back to my edge selection mode, highlight all of these polygons, edges, sorry, Control Shift E, and just resize that. So it's a bit hard to tell where this should go because there's things hiding or obstructing the view, but just make your best guess. And I'm going to grab these guys on the right here using my edge selection and just resize that as well. So I think something like this will work. Let's go to this part here. Grab all those edges, Control Shift E, and just resize. Let's move across, Control Shift E. I'm going to move this one. We'll leave that one there. This over here will be fine. Let's make that fit as best as we can. Great. So let's move across to the last section. Let's add another connection there. Great, that's looking pretty good. What we can do is press 1 on the keyboard to go into vertex selection. And just one by one, move these vertices around just to make that fit a bit nicer. Although it doesn't quite matter because we'll probably move things around again anyways. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I'm going to check out the work that we've done in our perspective view. Okay, so we've got the base here. So what I'm going to do is add some more resolution using an open subdiv. Before I do that, I'm going to delete the top and bottoms caps of this box here just by highlighting them and pressing delete on the keyboard. And then making sure I'm in object mode by toggling one of these buttons that's pressed in again. Let's add an open subdiv to round that off. Great. So taking ISO lines display off, this is what it looks like. Gives us a much better profile here. So again, in our front view, let's shape this. So pressing F3 on the keyboard to go into wireframe mode. And let's add an edit poly on top of our open subdiv. And just looking at areas that need it, we just want to shape. So I'm going to grab these vertices here on the right, scale them out a bit and just move everything to fit a little bit nicer, one column at a time. So let's scale that in. That's looking pretty good. They're looking fine. Let's get this one to fit a little bit nicer. Great. I might move this one over a little bit just so I can fit this apex of this bend right here a little bit nicer. There we go. And I'm going to scale those in as well. Just work my way across. That looks fine. That also looks fine. And let's scale that slightly in. All right, let's take a look at our work in perspective. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now at this point, I might cap this starting point here and extrude out that base. So let's do that. So in our perspective view, whoops, let's go to that section there, and then let's press 3 on the keyboard to go into border selection. Let's grab this open face here, and let's press Alt P for cap on the keyboard. You can also find it on the right here in the command panel under Edit Borders Cap. You can also right click and go to the quad menu. On the bottom left, we have cap. Great, and let's do a series of extrusions here. So I'm going to press 4 on the keyboard to go into polygon selection mode. And then I'm going to go into my front view, press Z to focus on my selection. And then let's hold down Shift. Let's press W to extrude that part out, about halfway I'd say. And let's scale that inwards. And let's do that one more time. So let's hold down Shift, move that out, and scale that inwards. Just like that. Make any adjustments if you need to. I'll go into vertex mode here and just make that look a little bit nicer. Great, and with this end part here, let's make sure this is not an n-gon. So I'm just going to fan this out, or zigzag it out, sorry. So let's press Ctrl C for cut. And I'm going to start over here. Doesn't quite matter. So I'm going to click here, down to this bottom vertex, up to the top center, down to the bottom center, top left, bottom left. And that'll be fine. Make sure you right click twice to cancel the tool. Let's take a look at our work. Make sure we're in perspective mode. Great, and that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So what I'm going to do though is make sure the smoothing groups are sorted out. So I'm going to press 4 on the keyboard to go into my polygon selection mode, highlight everything, and then if I go to the command panel and scroll all the way down, you have your polygon smoothing group section. Let's just clear all and give that a 1. Great, so that's looking pretty good. Let's move on to these sort of sections here. These stone looking pieces that sort of keep this braiding together, perhaps. Let's go into our front view. And let's go to that section over here. Then let's go to the Create tab and let's create a box. So roughly around that shape, it doesn't quite matter. We are going to change it anyways. Just make sure you don't have any length, width or height segments. Right click to cancel the tool. And then let's make sure our gizmo is centered, which it is. If yours is not centered, you can always go up to the hierarchy tab here on the right. Effect pivot only. And it looks like it wasn't centered. So let's go to center object. Turn that off. And then we have our pivot point in the center. So that way we can right click these little spinners here, which will do the Y to center that. And whilst we're here, let's make sure that our spear is centered as well, which it is. Great. So let's add 2 edit polys in the modify panel. Let's go to the front view, press Z to focus up, and then I'm going to press F3 to go into wireframe and just play around the shape a little bit. So I'm going to press 1 on the keyboard to go into vertex selection. Grab these right vertices here and just shift them over. And I'll do the same over to the left. shift that over to the right. And there's a bit of perspective here that we're going to have to work with. It's not an orthographic image. So we just got to make our best guess. It's not going to be exactly the same. And then what I want to do is add some connections here, so we can get this shape that sort of comes out and over this spear and then back in. So let's go into our edge selection mode by pressing 2 on the keyboard or the button up here. Let's grab all these vertical edges. Let's press Ctrl Shift E. We'll add one right in the center, which is what we want. And then let's add one on either side as well. And the bottom, Ctrl Shift E. Great, so we should have something like this. Now what we can do is, you can see that in our front view, this angled shape is more or less straight from about here and down here. So let's double click this edge at the top, which will create a loop selection for us. Let's just move that up a little bit to about there. And let's do the same for the bottom. So let's double click this edge, making sure that we have that selected correctly. And let's move that down to about there. Now what we can do is just to do a little bit of shaping. So I'm going to do this in the perspective view because I think that will be the easiest. And let's press F3 and then F4 for wireframe unshaded. And then I'm going to double click this center line. Make sure you have that selected. Press R on the keyboard to scale that out. Like that. Something like that will do, I think. And then whilst we're here, let's scale these tops and bottoms back in. So I might do that using the polygon selection. I'm going to grab this polygon here, Control, double click the polygon next to it to create a loop selection. And I'll do the same for the bottom, just so we can have that looking a little bit even. Okay, let's scale that in as well. I think that looks pretty good. But I think what I want to do is add some more resolutions over here and here, just so we can get that curvature looking a little nicer. So we can just eyeball this if we want, or we can use connect again, which will get it right in the center. So let's do that. Let's press 2 on the keyboard to go into our edge selection. Let's grab all of these edges here. Control Shift E. And then let's do the same for the bottom part. Control Shift E. Then let's Control and double click this line here to grab that selection. And let's just scale outwards. We can go in a little bit, I think, at this point. And up. Then we can grab this edge here in the middle. Just run that in a little bit more. Great. Maybe we grab this and bring it out a little bit further, just a little bit. Great, so that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that for now. Okay, so let's copy this across to get the next one over, and then we'll do the same thing as well for the last one. So let's press F on the keyboard to go to our front view. Highlight this shape here. Press W on the keyboard, hold down Shift, and let's drag that across. We want to copy that, press OK. Then we can scale the whole thing up just a little bit. just check this out. Okay. Then using our vertex selection, press F3 on the keyboard, and let's just do a little bit of shaping here. So this part here is a little bit taller. We'll bring this bottom section in, and just the left part in a little bit as well. And then we can sort of bring this up. It almost looks like it's sort of starting to taper a little bit. Great, something like that, I think. Cool. We can always make some changes to this later on if we want to as well. And let's do the same thing for the last one. Let's copy that across. I think something like this would be fine. And let's shape this as well. So this needs to come up a bit. So there's this vertex. And possibly this one here as well. Moving to the bottom here, let's grab all these vertices, drag that to the bottom. Let's shape this out a little bit here. And then let's bring these guys down a little bit. Okay. So it looks like we need to make this fit a little nicer. So let's just grab these vertex in the middle, so these three on either side and the ones at the back. And let's just scale that out a little bit. Okay, so I think what I want to do here is deselect these ones by holding down Alt and dragging over the top of them. Just scaling these out a little bit as well. I might actually just do that to these top ones and bottom ones. So just deselect the middle ones. And then I might scale this up as well to make that fit a little bit nicer. Great. And I might do the same for these ones that we made earlier as well. So I'm just going to grab these and this one here. Scale that out slightly and up. Not too much. And the first one, let's do the same as well. Right, so I think that's looking pretty good. What we can do now is just add a chamfer to all of these three objects just to soften the edges a little bit. Now you can see that there is sort of chamfered edge here. So we can add that in. And this one doesn't look like it has a lot. So I might have to do that one a little bit differently. So let's highlight the first one. Let's add, let's select the parts that we want chamfered. So let's press 2 on the keyboard. And we want these edges running along the sides and the other side as well. And along the back. So I'm holding down Control and double clicking this line here. And then let's grab all of these guys along the top. And same for the bottom. Great. Then in the modify list, let's open up that drop down. We want to find chamfer. Okay, so that's obviously too much. So let's go to the parameters here under options. So chamfer options, and let's just bring that amount down. Let's bring that back. Do something a little bit more manageable. And we can reduce the segments as well to 0 to have a flatter sort of hard edge, which I think that works. Great, so let's do the same for the other side as well. Let's grab this edge here, the opposite edge, and the other side as well, and the back side. Let's drag a little box over the top here to grab these four, and the same for the bottom. And then let's add another chamfer. So what I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to take edge selection off to go into object mode, go back to the first one. I like that chamfer amount, so I'm just going to right click that chamfer modifier, copy that. Let's go back to that second object, go back to our edge selection. It should save our selection. Right click the topmost edit poly and paste. So we should be able to paste that and then just make minor adjustments in the amount if we wanted to. Great. And then let's do the same for the last one. Let's press 2 on the keyboard to go into our modifier, edge selection. Double click this edge, control double click the other side. Let's do the same for this side and that back side as well. Let's draw a little box over the top to grab these four. And the same for the bottom here. Right click that topmost edit poly and paste that chamfer. So the chamfering looks quite a bit less on this one. So I'm going to reduce that chamfering quite a bit. Let's say 0.09. Great, so that's starting to take shape. I think what I'll do is, let's see if we can fix up those smoothing group issues. Let's add an edit poly on top. Let's highlight everything in our scene, or all the polygons on this object. Let's go down to where it says smoothing groups and clear all. And let's see if we can use the automatic smooth. So it looks a little too soft. So I might increase this or decrease this number. So let's say 30. So that's the angle that we're looking for. Auto smooth. So anything above that angle will create a separate smoothing group. So let's go 35. Auto smooth. Let's try that again. Let's go 38. We're getting close. Great. I think 38 was the magic number there. And let's do the same for the other side as well. What we can do is just copy this edit poly. Make sure we're in object mode. We're pressing this in. Let's go to the other side. Right click the topmost chamfer there and paste. Let's do that the same thing for the other one as well. Cool. It's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to grab all of these. Let's just change the color. Choose whatever you want. Great, that's a pretty good start. So I think now let's work on this spearhead. So this one looks a little tricky just because it's quite a unique looking spearhead. You can sort of see, almost see like where this sort of topology runs. There and there. It sort of changes directions a little bit about here. And it sort of goes upwards and across the right a little bit. So it's quite an interesting shape here. There's probably going to be a lot of redirecting of the topology, but that's okay. So let's go into our front view. Let's scroll up to this spear section. Let's create a box. Just a thin one for now. And what I will do straight away is just right click to cancel that creation tool. And I want to rotate this to the right. So it's the pivot point is facing on the left, or its position on the left. And let's just move that back. So I'm using my angle snaps for this. So it's A on the keyboard or up here in the toolbar. I'm going to bring that back to about here. And let's add an edit poly. So 2. Okay, so let's do a series of extrusions here and let's see what happens. So I'm going to press F3. Let's highlight polygon selection. Grab all of these guys on the right here. Press Alt to deselect the ones in the middle, just so I'm left with this one here. And then let's hold down Shift. Let's pull out. Let's pull out to about here. And let's press 1 on the keyboard to go into vertex selection, and let's shape this out. And let's shape the ones that we've, the earlier ones as well. So this one's kind of occluded, we can't see, so we just got to make our best guess and see how that's going to look. So let's press 4 on the keyboard again to go back into our polygon selection, and let's make another extrusion. It's about here. Again, we're just going to press 1 to shape. Let's bring that across. Now I sort of want to capture this edge flow here. I think that's quite interesting and it looks quite nice. So I want to add some segments running across. So let's press Alt 1 for Swift Loop, and let's add one here and one here. Right click to cancel the tool, and then let's grab these vertices and sort of match this curvature here. I might bring that. Looks good. Let's do that. And then let's just keep going. So let's press 4 on the keyboard. Let's drag out. And then let's shape this out. So I want to capture this curvature right here. So I need to bring these guys all the way back. Like this. And then I might need to have another edge here and here to get that curvature correct. So let's press Alt 1. Let's add an edge here, and let's add another one here. Right click to cancel the tool, press 1 on the keyboard, and shape. Great. And let's just continue. So let's press 4 on the keyboard. Let's extrude out again. Let's say to about here. And then let's press 1 on the keyboard to shape. Then to get this part here, let's add a swift loop right about there. So that's Alt 1 on the keyboard. Right click to cancel the tool, press 1 to shape. Alright, let's keep going. So let's press 4 on the keyboard. And let's extrude out to about here. Press 1, let's shape. might be able to pull this one all the way up here for now. Let's blend that in. We might need to add another line running across the middle. Alright, so let's press 4 on the keyboard. Let's extrude out and let's shape. Let's just keep repeating. 4 on the keyboard, extrude out and shape. Scale this part out. Just keep going. This process might take a while, but let's scale that part in. And sometimes 3D modeling can just be a bit laborious like this. That's just sometimes a part of it. Okay, so we're getting up to the part where the topology sort of shifts, and instead of going up to the left, it sort of goes up to the right. So we have to keep that in mind. I'm going to make another extrusion here, scale inwards, and then these guys, let's fit that a little bit nicer. Okay, so I'm going to bring these guys down here. And what I might do is bring this over to about here. I think this part might go over here. Then we might need to do a bit of manually cutting to get these shapes in. So I'm going to press Alt-C. Oh, actually we can use Swift Loop for now. So let's add a loop here. Then let's add another one here. And one over here. Just to get those peaks. And then what we can do is cut from here downwards. I'm going to press Alt-C on the keyboard. Cut from here to here. Control-Z to undo that. Let's just add a Swift Loop, just so it runs all the way around the other side as well. And let's do the same for here. Let's bring that in. So we've got a bunch of polygons here, which we have to sort out. And you can see the edge sort of runs across there. So I'm going to merge all these guys and weld it to these 2 points here. So to do that, I can just come across here, and it might be faster if I delete one half first, because we do have this side here, which I don't really want to deal with yet. So what I'll do is go into my top view by pressing T on the keyboard, and let's grab all of these edges running along the middle. Let's press Ctrl-Shift-E to add a line running through the center. And then let's press 4 on the keyboard to go to our polygon selection mode, and let's delete that whole back half. So we can always add that in later. So what we can do now is just worry about what we see here in the front view and not need to worry about the back view. So let's right click and go to target world. I'm back into vertex selection at the moment, and I'm going to target world all of these guys across. Remember, you got to do the bottom ones twice because there's a vertex sitting behind the front one, which can get a little bit tricky to select. And I'm going to reposition some of these to get that looking a bit nicer. And we've got another line coming across here. So I think what I have to do is get rid of this one. Got to get rid of these ones along the middle here. So I'm going to highlight these and just press backspace, and then press Control C. Go up to this vertex here, and then connect that with this one here. And then I can run this up from here to here, here to here for now. We might have to clean that up later. That way we can get this sort of shape here. Great. Let's just clean that up a little bit. Okay. So now that we've got that curvature changing, let's continue. So I'm going to grab all of these polygons here that are on the side, and let's just hold down Shift and let's bring that out. Let's get that looking right by shaping that. I might bring this one back a little bit. Press 4 on the keyboard and let's continue that. Okay, so it's getting a bit tight here, so I might need to extrude out from this point. Or what I could do is bring this back a little bit, and we can pop that there, which I think might work a little better. Great. Let's just see how we go. So let's go to about here, and let's bring this up. Let's reposition some of these guys. Okay, let's just continue. We're almost done. And we'll put this here. Let's just scale this down in the Y. Exit straighten that out a little bit. And then maybe one or two more. end. Then let's just pop that there for now. Okay, so we've got something like this. It's a little messy, and we probably do need one along the center just to capture some of these curves a little bit nicer. And here, what I want to do is I want to clean some of these edges up. So let's target weld some of these points. Let's target weld these guys to this one here. So target weld. Let's move that across. Okay, let's clean some of this up here. Okay, so let's add that line in the middle. So let's press Alt 1. Let's add this line roughly in the middle here. And let's do the same for the other side. And then what we have to do is manually connect these together. Let's press 1 on the keyboard. Let's press Alt C for cut, and let's just cut across. Then let's see what we can do here. So I might be able to merge these all together, I think. That might be a bit messy. Let's keep that separate for now. Spread this out a little bit. And with the new polygons here, let's try to capture this shape a little bit nicer. Sort of even some of this out a little bit. Great, so over here, let's do the same. Oops. Pull this out to get this curve looking a bit nicer. Same thing with down here. And over here, let's get that curve looking a little bit nicer as well. Let's just spend some time overall refining the shapes a little bit and edge flow. Let's sort of pull these out a little bit and even this out. Okay, so I want to get this line here. It looks like it comes in and then up. So let's cut a line from here to here. From here, let's press Alt C and then let's cut from there. And then let's just run that into this edge here and up towards the center. And let's just shape this out a little bit. Oops. So you can see that there's a gap there because we need to connect from there to there. So let's cut from here to here. And let's fix that up. So a little trick here. So we've made this cut and it's not centered. It's not sitting right on top. What we can do is just highlight these two vertices and just using the Y and X handle, so this outer highlight, just scale. And by default, Max does not scale in a negative. So eventually these vertices will just sit right on top of each other. Right, and what we can do here is probably clean this up a bit. So we can grab these two edges and just backspace to delete or to remove. And then let's redirect this edge as well. And yeah, let's cut from here to here. And let's reposition these vertices. Thinking it should go across like that. Let's reposition some of these guys. Move these guys back a little bit as well. Let's even some of these out. And let's see how we can get rid of this n-gon. So we've got two n-gons here, so this one and this one. So we could easily just cut from here and all the way up and at the back as well. Yeah, that will allow us to clean that up and just spread this out. And this side here is a little bit trickier. So we could connect these two or these two. So I think what we'll do is cut across like that. Then this one here will cut and meet in the middle. That way we have this quad. I think that will work. So there's definitely a lot more cleanup we can do here. And if you wanted to add more resolution, you could, because we're not getting some of these curves up here. So we could add another line right here and get those curves looking a bit nicer. So I think I might do that. Great. And let's add another one up here as well and do the same. Just work your way down. Do any repositioning of other vertices if you need to. So all of that can go down. And then we need to add a loop on this side. And then we need to cut across from here. So press Alt-C, just cut across there. And then we can merge from this point here as well. So we can highlight all three of these vertices, right click and go to world. Let's use the options here. Let's increase the threshold so they all snap. Okay, and then we can fix this up here as well. Spread some of this out. So just spend the time to clean this up. It's not perfect, but I think this will do the job. If you see any areas that you can clean up even further, then just go ahead and do that. Or if you think there's a better way to do this, so for example, you might want to just cut from here to here and down here instead of having this edge there. I think that works a little bit better. Instead of having too many triangles coming to one point, Could even do the same for this one here as well. Sort of balance that out a little bit nicer. And spread these guys out a little bit. So that will add more polygons, but overall the mesh looks a bit cleaner. Not adding too much either. Okay, so I think that will work for now. Towards the end here is not looking that great. We have all these points coming to one. So let's just grab, so let's go into our perspective here. Let's grab all of these points running in the middle here. Let's press Control. And let's grab these edges. And then these guys here as well. Let's press Control, Backspace. And then let's see how we can sort this out. So, probably should have checked my mesh a little bit. So you can see I've got this error here where I've accidentally merged these points. So I'm going to quickly fix that up. Okay, all better. And let's just get rid of these guys again. And in the front view, what we can do here I need to delete this whole back section as well. I must have missed that. It looks like I've done the same thing up here, so I'm going to quickly fix that as well. Great. Then now what I can do is go back here. Then I think I want to grab these ones running along the middle here and just push them back a little bit. Then connect these two edges together, or these two points together by highlighting these vertices, pressing Control-Shift-E. Looks like I've left the vertices behind, so let's just backspace those. And then I can cut from here all the way to the end. So let's do that. Just to reduce the vertice amount running along this endpoint here. Let's do the same for up here. And here as well. Great, so that's the starting point of our blade. I think that's looking pretty decent. What we can do now is start to actually make it look like the blade itself. So let's get our symmetry back. So let's go to our modifier list, making sure you're in object mode by having none of these selected. Let's go to down to our modifier. All the way to the bottom we have symmetry. Let's choose the right axis, so the Y, the X in this case, and let's flip that. Great. And then let's add an edit poly on top. or we can add an edit poly at the bottom actually. I'm thinking, yeah, let's add an edit poly at the bottom. So on top of this edit poly here. And then what we can do now is add our FFD. Let's add an FFD4. Open up this drop down, go to control points, and let's start shaping this out. So we know we want this to be thick in the middle. So let's grab these middle points here. Just these ones down at the middle here. Let's pull them out in the Y. Let's grab these top ones and bottom ones and these end two. Let's push that in. Great, so I'm just checking out the shape to see if I like what I'm looking at. I might just grab some of these individual sections here and move them over. I'm conscious of them snapping too close, like what we have here, so I'm going to pull that back a bit. If that does happen. Just work your way around. All right. Let's go to the top now. Grab this corner. Bring that over. Don't want that to go in too far. I might grab this part and bring that out. Let's grab this section here. And the back. Great, and let's grab these control points here and let's just move that out to create a bit more thickness. Okay, it's not going to be perfect, but once we're happy with the shape, let's add an edit poly on top of the symmetry. And this is sort of what we have at the moment. So all we have to do here now is all of these edges and faces that aren't welded together to create a nice sharp edge. Let's just run around the edges here and weld them all together. So I'm going to use my vertex selection. Grab these, right click, weld, weld options, and let's increase the threshold quite high. Let's press apply. So what we can do now is just move on to the next set and just continue pressing apply. Just make sure you have exactly what you want selected, just in case you grab something that you shouldn't. Just work your way around. So a little trick with the quad menu, if you right click and you can see that world is highlighted white, writing is white. That is what we used last. So what you can do is just right click and you can just highlight over the quad menu title here, and it will activate that last used. So you can get pretty quick at that. So you can just right click, move the mouse over slightly, and get that pretty quickly. So it looks like I need to manually cut on this side. So I'll just quickly do that. And continue my welding. All right, and we're done. Great. So it's all welded. It's looking fairly okay at this point. I think there's definitely a lot we can do with this. Not quite done with it. So what I'll do is just grab this vertex and bring that across, I think. Just be careful that you don't do too much of that because you can ruin the curvature a little bit. Because now that we have sort of shaped it a bit and it's tapering towards the end, that can change and ruin that curve that we've created. Great. So I think what I want to do is change how this end part works. Don't think I want this to look like that. So I'm going to grab these 3 edges and control backspace. And I'm going to bring this, oops, make sure you grab the other side as well. And this vertex, I'm going to shift that back a bit. All right, so let's press Control C and let's cut from here to up there. And let's do the same for the other side. And then let's cut from here to this end point. Or thinking maybe we can cut from here to here to here and then connect this like that, which I think works better. And then we can just connect these two together as well. Because it was getting a bit tight back there. And it was sort of falling in on itself, which I didn't quite like. We can give this a bit of extra room. Cool. I think that looks better. That gives us a nicer sort of profile. And then from here, what we can do is just delete half again and just reapply that symmetry. So we don't have to fix up and line up the other side. It looks like I've got to fix it anyways, but let's copy the symmetry below, right click copy, right click the top edit poly and paste. And then we can add an edit poly on top and fix up any little errors like here. Oops. It looks like deleted a whole section of my model. Let's do that again. Delete. Right click symmetry, copy, right click paste. add an edit poly on top, fix up any areas that need fixing. Great, so let's fix up the smoothing groups here. It's definitely a lot more to do. We're not quite done yet. So I'm going to grab all of these polygons, clear all, and let's see if we can use auto smooth to get the look we're going for. It's looking a little too soft. So I think we're going to have to clear all and just do this manually. So I'm going to give this a 1. And then I think what we're going to have to do is delete half. I think that will be the easiest way to do this. Then we can add that back in later once we've thought out the smoothing groups. Okay, so this might get a little bit tricky. What we want to do is sort of capture some of these curves here. So let's start from here. So this is all 1, so let's grab these. I'm going to press Q to go into selection mode. Let's go to our smoothing groups and let's give that a 2. Great. Then whilst we're here, let's bring these vertices in manually. I think what I want to do is actually change my viewport so I see two viewports at once. So I'm going to go to the left here and open up this little flag and change this to a 2x2 viewport. That way I can have the left one in my front view, making sure I have high performance on, or high quality, and then on my right side I can do all the changing up. Okay, so I'm going to bring this guy out a little bit. I think we'll bring this in slightly. Then let's grab these guys here. Or let's do this side actually. Let's clear that, give that a 3. Let's see how that sort of looks. Great. And this part here goes in, the part that we just made. So let's grab these vertices on the inside. Let's pull them in a little bit. If we want to, we can sort of flatten that out a little bit and slightly rotate that. And then up here, let's pull that out. So it's sort of tapering inwards. Right, so this part sticks out. So let's pull that out a little bit. And then this next line goes in and then it sort of comes out again because this part comes out. So we'll just start off by pulling that in. And then let's change the smoothing group on that. So on this side, we have a smoothing group of 3. So let's grab all of this and let's give that a 4. Great. And then let's move over to the next side, which will be these guys here. Let's pull them out slightly. Let's sort of blend that back in. Great, so it's looking good. And then let's just grab this vertex, this polyface, and these ones here. Let's clear that and give it a 5. we're going to have to go all the way up and give that a 5 as well. Great. And then on the other side, what we'll have to do is give that a 6. So clear all, give that a 6. Cool. So let's just keep working. So this part here, this line goes in. So let's grab these vertices. Let's bring them in slightly. Just to emphasize that shape a little bit. And then the line on the right of it comes out. So let's grab these vertices in the middle. And I'm not grabbing the top and bottom just because they're centered already. I don't want to ruin that look or that curvature that we've created. So let's pull that out a bit. Might grab this guy here and pull that out a bit as well. And then let's fix the smoothing groups. Let's grab this whole row. Clear all, give that a 7. Then on the other side, let's give that a 8. Press F4, see how that's looking. Great. So I might push some of these polygons and vertices in a little bit just to contrast that change in surface direction a little bit better. Okay, let's fix that up a little bit. Okay, so the next part, let's grab this whole loop. Let's give that a 9. Then this edge here, let's grab the vertices along the middle. Let's pull them out a bit. I'm going to deselect these top ones just so I have these center two. Pull them out a little bit as well. Let's fix the smoothing groups on this next row. So let's give that a 10, I think. Great. Then let's grab these vertices and let's pull that out. Not too far because it doesn't look like it's pulled out too far in the reference image. Let's deselect this top two and this bottom one, and let's just pull out a little bit more. Then let's deselect this one here in the middle. Continue. Okay, so let's fix the smoothing groups on that. So this one's a 10. So let's grab this whole loop. Give that an 11. Great, so we're getting there. So we're on this loop now. So let's pull this in. Let's do this one at a time. And if that's an 11, the next one will be a 12. Let's give that a 12. This part's going to be a little tricky, I think. So it comes out, but then it's also sort of flat around here. So let's start off with the top two. Let's bring that out. Okay, so we lost a bunch of recording footage. So a lot of it has, we have skipped ahead from about here to here. The process is very much the same. You're just working your way across the model to get this sort of a look. Then we came to about here where we were getting this sort of shape, these little teeth notches in, which we were sort of just cutting in and shaping that out. So just do your best to get the look that you're going for. Then we're just going to cut across here, and let's just triangulate this out. That'll be fine. Okay. So let's continue fixing up the smoothing groups. So from here, all the way up here, let's see what this one is, 23. So let's just give that 24. Let's give this 25. That one there as well, 25. And then from here, let's give all of these guys here another 25. Because we want that to be smooth across this whole face. Then there's a change in direction here, so let's clear that and give it a 26. Let's give this a 26. And then let's give all of this here 27. So we'll give these guys here 26 as well. Then the end piece, what we could do is just give that a $28. Okay, then we can fix that up a little bit later if we wanted to. So let's get these guys here, last little bits. So let's grab that whole loop, clear all, give that a 1. Actually, let's give that a 2. And let's just work our way around. So give that a 3. Clear all, give that a 4. Give that a 5. We've got something like this. And I think, let's see how that sort of looks with the same smoothing group. Okay, so I think that does work. Give it the same because the texture will drive most of this. Yeah, let's just give that the same smoothing group. Let's give that a 4. 6. Let's give that one a 6. Give that an 8, and the center guy's an 8 as well. All right, so we got there in the end. Again, there's a lot that we could do to this, but I think for now that's looking pretty good. I think I wanted to give these 2 polygons a 1 as well, so there's just that sort of line happening at this point, not everywhere. We definitely could add some more segments here just to give that curvature looking a little nicer. But I think for now we'll sort of just leave it. Could move and redistribute some of these guys, which would be a good idea. And we probably do want to come in here to maybe, I'm thinking we should inset this in like that. So we have some more polygons to work with. Delete these guys that were left behind. And then just shape this out. I think that would be a better way to do it. Just so we can get that shape looking a little nicer. Something like this. So we can tuck that in a little bit. and then we can just fix the smoothing groups here. So that's a 2. Let's just bring this to 2 as well. And these lines here, which sort of blend into this sort of flat piece, let's give that a 1 as well. Great, so something like that I think will work pretty nice. Probably do need to change the smoothing groups here towards the end so we can get a nicer point. But let's symmetry that first. So let's go into symmetry tool. Let's just right click that, copy, and paste that on top. Great, I'm going to change that color to gray. I think that's looking pretty good. If we wanted a sharper point up here, we can change the smoothing groups along this sort of center piece. We can go to edit poly, and this center line here that runs all the way around, we can say hard, and that will give us that sort of hard edge. So just highlighting that edge just by double clicking that, and then in the edge settings here we can just press hard, and that should give us the look that we're going for. I think overall this looks pretty nice. This will give us a lot of, if we wanted to create a high poly version of this, we could subdivide this. This will sort of smooth things out a bit too much, but then we can go into our edit polys, edge selection mode, and let's say, for example, this edge here, we could not press hard, but we could crease it. Increasing this iteration level would mean that we can crease this edge quite effectively. Same with this edge here, we can increase that crease level and pull that edge in. And this here. Let's just do the same for here for demonstrations. So you would need to do that everywhere. But you can see we can create this really nice creased edge for a nice high poly look. We could even run this edge, oops, so go down to this edit poly, and this edge that runs across the whole blade, this sharp bit here, and we can give that a, I've got some issues here where I need to weld this to be a bit cleaner. We can do that later. Give that a 1 in our crease edges, and then we've got this nice sort of sharp top here. Right. So this is definitely not usable in a game if you're going to be doing this open subdiv creasing approach, though definitely we can use that in a baking process on our low poly model, which will be this one here, to be used in a game. And that will further sort of refine the shapes a little bit, so it doesn't look as blocky in game. So you can sort of make the edges a bit sharp or soften them up a little bit just by baking that high poly on top. Then you can do that all in Max if you wanted to, or you can take it to a program like Substance Painter, which we'll probably do later in the course. I'm just going to fix up these holes. Great, so this is where we're at with the spear. This video has gone for a bit long, so I think I'll cut it there and make a new one. Again, there is a cut in the video where it sort of crashed. In the next video, we'll sort of do this weaving here and these parts over here as well, and this sort of handle piece, and then we'll call that done, I think.